Live from Upper Left USA, this is Caleb Brown with Unleashed Entertainment. You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington. Dealing with COVID-19 is uncharted territory, and everyone has different challenges. People may feel anxious, down, or overwhelmed. For some, these feelings can lead to changes in sleep patterns, an increased use of alcohol or drugs, or withdrawing from the people around them. If you know someone who's having a hard time coping, you can help by reaching out to talk and listen. To learn more about how you can help someone in need, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-TALK. Brought to you by the state of Washington.
This message is brought to you by Public Health, Seattle and King County, the Washington Department of Health, Washington Chapter AAP, and Within Reach. No matter where your classroom is, whether in person or online, routine vaccinations protect your child from serious diseases like measles, mumps, and chickenpox, and they keep your child safe, healthy, and thriving. Need help finding a provider? Visit parenthelp123.org or call the Help Me Grow Washington hotline at 1-800-322-2588.
Are you a small business owner in Seattle who was impacted by COVID-19? The Seattle Office of Economic Development is investing $8 million to connect small businesses to operating capital. The Small Business Capital Access Program will lower the cost of Washington State Small Business Flex Fund loans by paying down 25% of the loan principal. Eligible small businesses can borrow up to $150,000 with a 4% interest rate to cover expenses like payroll, rent, utilities, and supplies.
Rainier Avenue Radio World is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at Rainier Avenue Radio World. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn apps.
I go work like a doctor when I rock the mic.
Hello, I'm Granville Emerson, and welcome to LidLine Sports. That's Renault, Pepe Bean, and that's oldest Lil O Stevenson. What's up, fellas?
Hey.
What's good? What's good?
Hey, you sound real excited. What you got on, a Pepper bandana? You robbing the bank?
You look like you better get into something illegal.
Like you about to get in big trouble in Little China.
No, I was outside for a minute.
Yeah, it's a little blustery out there, huh? Rain squalls floating around there. A lot going on in the world of sports. Hey, the Mariners are in first place. What?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games.
Right.
They got big bats winging.
Getting early runs, which I think was something that they needed to work on last year. And Logan Gilbert has been so far the surprise of the Seattle Mariners. 0.54 ERA. That guy's dealing right now.
Yeah. Who else are the big standouts?
Well, Ty France, he's been blazing hot. Adam Frazier, he's been doing great at leadoff.
Mm-hmm.
And and I said before the homestand that they need to be at least 6-3 during the homestand. Well, they ended at 7-2, and should have been 8-1, but that's okay. I'll take it.
JB Carver's been hitting the ball pretty well too.
Okay.
They just been playing. The bats have been moving. They just some of those guys is batting average you can't really tell because everybody got off to a really slow start. But I just think as a whole, the batting is starting to wake up.
Okay. What about the young phenom Pedro Rodriguez? I mean,
Julio Rodriguez.
what's his name?
Julio Rodriguez.
Julio Rodriguez.
Pedro.
Yeah, Julio.
Okay, so just a quick story, like that's what stuck in my mind. I ever tell you about that, about my gypsy cab driver in San Juan?
No.
Okay, so I was in San Juan and I had this guy. He drove me all over the island. His name was Pedro Rodriguez, and when I asked him what his name was, he told me it was a curse. I'm like, what? He said, my name's a curse. I'm like, well, what's your name? He said, Pedro Rodriguez. I'm like, how's that a curse? He said, do you know how many Pedro Rodriguez there are in San Juan?
That's a good one.
This guy is great. So check this out. So I'm going back to the airport, to leave, right? So he takes me up the ramp to the departure. And I go, no, Pedro. My valuables are in a locker downstairs. I need to go to, he took me up to departure. I need to go down to the arrivals, right? This dude straight like, he backed that joker all the way down the ramp dodging cars. Can you believe that? I'm like, man, are you serious? It's like a scene out of a movie. Like we could have just went around like normal people. That's why I had Pedro Rodriguez stuck in my head. But Julio Rodriguez, has he got his back going?
A little bit. He's gotten. Go ahead, Pat.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, O.
A little bit. He's definitely batted in some runs with his hits. So I will say the hits that he has gotten over the last few games have they've gotten in runs. But he's definitely still trying to find his way. For anybody who does not know, Julio Rodriguez has not played in AAA. He's coming straight from AA. I think he played with his national team during the summer last year. So I just think it's going to take a little bit to get him going. But defensively, he's been great though.
So he's starting off better than last year's rookie phenom. What's his name? Jared Kelnick?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's starting off better than him?
By
what
far.
do you think, Pep? Okay.
By far? Okay.
Yep.
All right. I wanna shout out USC women's basketball. I don't know if you guys heard the news story a while ago about Aaliyah Gales. She was shot 10 times
Yes,
at
I posted
a high
that.
school party in Las Vegas. She's a number 8 ranked girls high school basketball player. And she had, prior to that, decommitted from USC when their coach left. And so they had a new coach. Now today, their new coach offered her a scholarship. And so now she's accepted a scholarship to go to USC, although she has not yet regained feeling in her legs. So, prayers to her and her family, and just a good gesture by the new USC coach.
Yeah.
There she is.
Definitely.
Yeah, she was shot 10 times.
I wanted to take a minute just to share that, because it's always bad news. A lot of bad news that we share sometimes, but we got to share the good news. Like that's really, really something. And the new coach, Lindsey Gottlieb, said Aaliyah is one of the most talented, athletically gifted basketball players I've ever known. She is electric on the court with her ability to score, defend, and create for others with her ball handling and vision. But from the moment I got to know her, I was also drawn to her character, her humility, loyalty, warm personality, and resilience set her apart along with her athletic gifts. That's Lindsey Gottlieb, the new USC coach, talking about Aaliyah Gales, who they just offered a scholarship that she accepted. She was one of 4 people who were shot at the party, none of them fatally so far. So prayers to all of them as well.
Yeah.
Pep, let's go to NFL Pep Talk because we got a whole lot of NBA to talk about, including somebody getting the broom treatment.
Somebody's in
Yes,
Cancun
please.
already?
Yeah, fishing. Okay, so every off season, you can count on some stupidity from coaches, management, or especially the players. Well, this time we got a player. New Bears wide receiver Byron Pringle was arrested Saturday in Pasco County, Florida. Pringle was arrested for, get this now, doing donuts on the highway with a young child in the back seat.
What?
Yeah. Add being combative during his arrest as well.
Oh, he had his little Geno Smith on?
Yeah.
Geno
I
was
mean, what
combative
is it
too.
with these guys, in off-season shenanigans? Look, I understand, the off-season is a long time, in the NFL. You finish what, if you're not in the playoffs and Super Bowl and whatnot, you're done in early January, and you don't really get back into it until maybe, off-season program in April, and then once again after that, then you got training camp that starts in July. But that's a long idle time, So nevertheless, there are few and far and some repeat offenders that cannot stay out of the limelight in a negative, fashion. What do you think is it with some of these guys in what the shenanigans they pull? I mean, come on now, how you gonna be on a highway doing donuts and think that that's okay?
It probably has a lot to do with a lot of that testosterone they take.
Yeah, definitely.
It has a lot to do with that. So, and everything else that they take and put into their bodies to try to bring their bodies into maximum performance. So,
yeah,
I would imagine that has a role.
Yeah, we know athletes tend to have this larger than life, bigger than everything persona about them. So not everybody, not every athlete,
Right.
But you have your circle of athletes who have this think that they're bigger and above everything, and they have the money to get out of any situation. So
And they have gotten out of every situation they've gotten out of,
exactly,
big or small, to that point, right? And it kind of escalates.
Yeah. And frankly, a lot of them just got too much time on their hands. Some of them actually do need a project, or we talk about players that are doing too much. Well, there's players out there that's doing too little.
Yeah.
But thankfully, this time there were no injuries, no fatalities, and no harm per se. But you got to imagine he's going to get fined heavily and possibly some suspension time, which is all Justin Fields needs as the quarterback for a team with very little weapons, especially last year. Now you finally get a weapon from Kansas City, and then you might not have him for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 games maybe, if possible, to start the year. So that's not good.
Yeah.
And so, well, move on from that. The NFL draft, we've talked about it the last couple of weeks, is finally here. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, which would be the 28th, 29th, and 30th of April. Finally, we'll be figuring out who will be number one. Is there any consensus to who number one's going to be?
There is no real consensus. Like every place that I look.
Well,
go ahead, O.
Oh, well, I was going to say, I'm hearing now that, I guess in Vegas odds books, that Trayvon Walker is now the favorite to go number one. And in a flip here, we all thought the defensive end from Michigan this whole time was going to go number one. But apparently the general manager, whoever, somebody in the Jaguars camp really loves Trayvon Walker. And they're saying he's going to be the decision maker, and it looks like that's who they are really leaning toward.
Have the Jaguars come out and said
that
they're going to pick him?
No, they were just saying that there is a lot of talk of that. Whoever
so
the decision
the
maker
betting line,
likes
the betting line at MGM is Trayvon Walker.
Right.
So
yeah,
Vegas is usually right.
Yeah.
Vegas is usually right.
And of course, it's going to be wondering how many trades are going to go down, whether teams move up, teams move down. So there's plenty of rumors that's abound. Which quarterback will be taken first? What will be the first big shocker? Who will rise, who will fall? Bro, I'm just glad to hurry up and get it over with because I'm really tired of all these mocks and all this speculation and all these new scenarios that pop up on Facebook. Man, I just want to get it going. Let's go.
Yeah.
The block for talking about the NFL draft is longer than any other draft in professional sports. Like I feel like we're talking about the NFL draft for dang near a year. Usually with the NBA, it's from like May to June, and that's it.
Yeah, well, I said before, the NFL does a better job than anybody keeping you interested during the off season.
Definitely.
Right.
Yep.
With free agency, there's always like this year's blockbuster free agency moves, and then they're talked about the draft. For the first few months, there wasn't a quarterback in the draft. Now you hear that anybody from Kenny Pickett to Sam Howell, well, not Sam Howell, but anybody from Kenny Pickett to Carson Strong could go in the top 10. And so it's a crazy situation. I know the NFL people are loving it because it's a lot to talk about, because you got to talk about everybody as opposed to talk about one or two guys. Normally, like last year, it was all about Trevor Lawrence, right?
Right.
Yep.
And so this year now you're talking about a boatload of dudes. And you're talking about the depth of the draft at wide receiver. And I want to talk about that as well, Pep, when you're done.
Yeah, please do.
You want to talk about it now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I was my favorite receiver in do you two have a favorite receiver in the draft?
No, definitely.
Well, I don't know if I have a favorite receiver, but I have names that, keep popping up that I remember. Of course, the kid from Ohio State that broke record yards. I forget his name.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, and then you got the incumbent at Ohio State, Chris Olave, who who's always talked about. And then you got and then you got Drake London out of USC, who's been talked about. Now, in some mock drafts, he's moved all the way up to number 7.
Yeah.
And the first receiver pick.
Pro Football Focus has him at number 2, has Drake London at number 2 behind Jameson Williams from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite right there.
Well, when I said number 7, I meant number 7 overall.
See if his injury is going to
take
his draft stock down.
Exactly.
We know that we've seen a multiplicity of dudes come back like brand new or better after ACL surgery. So his issue is, does a team that drafts him, do they want to sit out till he's ready to go in November? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be ready to play in November. So do they need somebody to go right away? Or if you're drafting that high, if you're the Jaguars or any other team drafting that high, you need dudes to play right away.
Right.
So we'll see if that affects his draft stock. I believe that he is the best wide receiver in the draft. That's my thought.
Yeah.
And Garrett Wilson, he just had a phenomenal, what was that, the Sugar Bowl? One of those bowl games.
Yeah.
He had a phenomenal bowl game.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was really ridiculous. And so we'll see. This guy, Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, they say he's really, really good as well. And so there's a bunch of receivers. Maybe 2 Alabama receivers go in the first 15 picks. John Mitchie, the third from Alabama. Slot receiver, probably 5'11", 187.
Mm-hmm.
He might go high as well, but there's a lot of good receivers in the draft. We had talked prior about the possibility of the Seahawks trading DK Metcalf because there were so many receivers in the draft, and being able to get further under the salary cap and not have to pay $28-30 million that he's going to demand next year when he becomes a free agent. And so we'll see what the Seahawks will do. Did anybody happen to catch Pete Carroll and John Snyder's press conference the other day?
I heard the one last week.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, where they talked about, of course, they weren't saying anything other than Snyder saying that, they're keeping all their options open and they listen to everybody about everything.
Right.
Cliche answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So no one knows what they're going to do. I see some people saying that they're going to move up from number 9 to try to pick Malik Willis at number 3.
Well, here's what I heard. I heard they're going to keep the number 9, but try to use the 2 picks they have in the second round at 40 and 41 to move up higher.
Okay.
To that like number 2 or 3 spot.
I'm all for moving up, not moving back. Not with the personnel we have.
Yeah, G, we talked about this last week. Oh, and I did about what we thought the Seahawks ought to do. So I'd like to know what you think they ought to do.
I think they ought to draft Malik Willis with the number 9 pick and keep it pushing. That's what I think they should do. You got Drew Lock. You wouldn't trade it for Drew Lock for a reason, for him to be that stopgap quarterback. Let Malik Willis play behind him for a season and have that, that gap year. And then hopefully in his second year, he's able to take the reins. And then with the salary cap room that you have, and they'll have even more salary cap room next season because if whatever they don't use this year rolls over to the next year. So they'll have more draft picks as well next year. So they could build a nice defense with their picks. They've got to figure out how they're going to get an O-line. I heard them or Pete Carroll talk glowingly about what's the dude's name?
Evan Neal.
The tackle, the rookie tackle. He's a second-year guy now.
Oh, you mean for Seattle?
For Seattle.
Oh, yeah. I can't think of who he's talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, they're talking glowingly about him like he's gonna, just be good replacing Dwayne Brown. So we'll see how that goes. Huh? Yeah. It's they've got a lot. Stone Forsythe. Yeah, I had his name right. Stone Forsythe.
Yeah.
He actually didn't do bad when he replaced Dwayne Brown last year when he was hurt. So,
he's
but
huge.
they've got to replace both tackles, the left tackle and the right tackle.
Yeah.
So, what should the Seahawks do? They got a lot to do.
Right.
A whole lot to do. But I think it would be, from my understanding, Malik Willis has all the tools. Strong arm, big, runs fast, pretty accurate passer. He just lacks big game experience playing in a little small rinky-dink conference he played in. And so if Shane Waldron if he's any good as an O coordinator, they can coach him up and get him ready in 2 years. I think that'd be a good pick.
Interesting.
He might not even be around then, because the other thing about this year's draft is nobody is saying anything in terms of organizations. All the talk about draft picks has been from the media.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right? And so nobody knows what anybody's going to do in the draft. So, we'll all be tuned in at 5 p.m. on Thursday trying to find out.
Yeah, that's for sure. Oh, you got anything?
No, I'm reiterating what we talked about last week. I think that they should utilize the draft picks that they have.
Yeah.
I may not necessarily agree with G's choice, but I agree they need to use it for sure instead of trading back.
Who would you use with the number 9 pick?
Like I said, there's so many holes that need to be filled by the Seahawks. I've looked at definitely Ahmad Garner if he's available with that pick, a cornerback out of Cincinnati.
Yep.
Or Derek Stingley. A cornerback for sure is a big need. I've thought about an offensive lineman, Charles Cross. I think, like I said, these are one of those drafts, especially the position the Seahawks in, where I think they are literally going to have to wait till maybe they pick before to actually make like a real decision, because a lot of guys they do want can go anywhere from 2 to all the way down to past the pick that they have. So yeah, I can also see them that what we talked about last week, Pep. If there's a player who that they think may fall to them, they could trade back and maybe pick up another first round pick or another second round pick. So, but I would if I'm saying I want a cornerback. We haven't had our defense passing wise has been terrible over the last 2 years, but a lot of that does have to do with the pass rush. So hey, maybe a defensive end as well. We have so many holes.
Here's the Seahawks. If the Seahawks played a game tomorrow, this would be their starting lineup. Wide receiver DK Metcalf, other wide receiver Tyler Lockett, slot wide receiver Freddie Swain, left tackle Storm Forsythe, left guard Damian Lewis, center Austin Blythe, right guard Gabe Jackson, right tackle Jake Curran, tight end Noah Fant, quarterback Drew Lock, running back Penny Rashad
Penny. Woo!
On defense, defensive end Shelby Harris, nose tackle Poona Ford, defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson, Leo linebacker Daryl Taylor, weak side linebacker Jordan Brooks, middle linebacker Cody Barton, Sam linebacker Uchenna Nwosu, left cornerback Trey Brown, strong safety Jamal Adams, free safety Quandre Diggs, right cornerback Sidney Jones, slot cornerback Justin Coleman. That sounds like a 4-13 team to me.
Oh man, that's why it's good. It's a good year to definitely have multiple draft picks because, like I said, but that's why we keep saying that this is also a good year to use your draft picks, not trade back, because we have so many holes.
So this is the year that they got to have that draft where they actually draft guys that play right away.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're in the top 10, so when you're in the top 10, you need to draft an impact player.
I mean, not even from the top 10, but down in the 3rd and 4th round, they got to hit on those picks.
Right.
Third round picks are supposed to start or at least make a big contribution.
Yeah. Well, they got 2 second rounds, 40 and 41. They got to hit on those.
Yeah, they got to hit on those.
Yep. Agree.
That's why I say that it's supposed to be a deep draft with wide receivers and a deep draft with defensive tackles. So I feel like they need to get somebody with those second round picks, a wide receiver and a defensive tackle that's going to make an impact right away. Freddie Swain is cool, but he ain't all that.
No.
Right?
And neither is Eskridge.
True.
Exactly. Well, who knows? I mean, that dude stayed out the whole season with a concussion, so I don't know what he is or what he can do. So It is what it is. That's why I say if I was them, everything to me with every organization, you have to have a quarterback. And so they are rumored to like dude out of Mississippi.
Matt Corral.
Yeah, Corral. Right? So I don't like Corral. I don't think he's that dude.
I don't either. I've watched him.
I actually like Sam Howell better than Corral. I think Sam Howell.
I like Sam Howell. I do. I like Sam Howell.
Yeah. So if Sam Howell is still around in the second round, I would
keep
take
hearing
Sam
Ritter.
Howell. Huh?
I might like the quarterback from. Go ahead.
I keep hearing Ritter.
Yeah, they brought him in for an interview, right?
I believe so.
I don't see it.
I kind of like the quarterback out of Pitt over Corral, honestly.
Pickett.
Yeah, Pickett. Yeah.
Well, Pickett is the most accomplished of them all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, the Steelers want him bad.
Huh?
The Steelers want him.
Yeah.
But he's at number 20.
That's a lot of starts for college quarterback.
Yeah.
It's like you've been starting for 4 years.
That means he should be ready. He should be ready to go.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it'll be interesting to see who the first quarterback picked in the draft is, and it'll be interesting to see who the first wide receiver picked in the draft. And I feel like that the Seahawks should just go down the list and just draft whatever the position need is on defense from Georgia. You know what I mean? All them dudes can ball.
Yeah.
Like, true. I don't think you can go wrong picking anybody off Georgia's defense.
True.
Right? All right, it's time for us to take a break. When we come back, we'll come back with Lil O and all that he's got to talk about. He got the whole second half of the show to talk about NBA playoff action. It's fantastic. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Good.
Live from Upper Left USA, this is Caleb Brown with Unleashed Entertainment. You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio .world.
You probably have questions about COVID vaccines. Here are some answers about how they're being made.
How are COVID vaccines being produced faster?
Usually, vaccine testing and production are separate steps. But because of the pandemic, vaccines are being developed on parallel tracks. So both steps are happening just at the same time.
How are the vaccines being tested?
Right now, several different COVID vaccines are in testing. Each go through multiple clinical trials with up to thousands of volunteers.
How do vaccines get approved?
Not all COVID vaccine versions will make it to the final stages of testing and approval. Produced vaccines that do not pass clinical trials will be destroyed. But for those that do pass, a team of medical experts will examine test results and possible side effects. If the vaccine is effective and safe, it gets approved and gets to you. Go to covidvaccinewa.org to learn more. A message from the state of Washington. Dealing with COVID-19 is uncharted territory, and everyone has different challenges. People may feel anxious, down, or overwhelmed. For some, these feelings can lead to changes in sleep patterns, an increased use of alcohol or drugs, or withdrawing from the people around them. If you know someone who's having a hard time coping, you can help by reaching out to talk and listen. To learn more about how you can help someone in need, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-TALK. Brought to you by the state of Washington.
This message is brought to you by Public Health, Seattle and King County, the Washington Department of Health, Washington Chapter AAP, and Within Reach. No matter where your classroom is, whether in person or online, routine vaccinations protect your child from serious diseases like measles, mumps, and chickenpox, and they keep your child safe, healthy, and thriving. Need help finding a provider? Visit parenthelp123.org or call the Help Me Grow Washington hotline at 1-800-322-2588.
Are you a small business owner in Seattle who was impacted by COVID-19? The Seattle Office of Economic Development is investing $8 million to connect small businesses to operating capital. The Small Business Capital Access Program will lower the cost of Washington State Small Business Flex Fund loans by paying down 25% of the loan principal. Eligible small businesses can borrow up to $150,000 with a 4% interest rate to cover expenses like payroll, rent, utilities, and supplies.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world is your 24/7 digital media hub. Tune in at Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TuneIn app.
I go to work like a doctor when I rock the mic.
Hey, welcome back to LidLine Sports. I'm Granville Emerson, along with our co-host Renault, Pepe Bean, and Otis Lil O Stevenson. I want to shout out our friends of the show, Rhonda Dorsey, Bill Walker Jr., Michael Carter, and everybody else that's listening on our platforms, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, Rainier Avenue Radio, and wherever you get your podcast. All right, NBA time. 1, 2, 3, Cancun for those Brooklyn Nets.
1, 2, 3, Cancun. They are taking a trip down south and meeting LeBron in Cancun after making.
LeBron's back now. He in the studio making commercials. He been on for some weeks now.
But yeah, after the Brooklyn Nets made it out the play-in, got the 7th seed. Remember, Pep, we talked about this when the playoffs were about to start. A lot of people were thinking maybe the Boston Celtics possibly would tank their last game of the season to avoid Brooklyn. And Ime Udoka came out like an hour before their game and said that they're going to suit up everybody. They're going to play, and they're not running from anybody, and they feel like they have a chance to beat anybody. And that was very white, and that was very so. Nobody ever thought that the Boston Celtics would have put a number on the Brooklyn Nets like they did and sweep them in 4 games. Season ended. Their season ended officially just an hour ago with the Boston Celtics win in Brooklyn. What happened in that series is exactly, in my opinion, was a small sample size of what has happened to them throughout the whole series. Not being able to get all on one page. You had Ben Simmons, who did not step on the court at all season, even though there were rumblings all series that he was going to play possibly game 2, and then for sure game 4. After game 3, they're now, I guess, before practice before game 4, Ben Simmons came in saying that he had back soreness. His agent, Rich Paul, and management met today. And they spoke on the injury, but then they also spoke on this mental healthness thing again, saying that pretty much he's still just not in the right side of mind to play basketball. He is being ripped across basketball platform. In my opinion, rightfully so. But before I get your guys' comment on the Ben Simmons situation, people have to give the Boston Celtics their credit. They are the best defensive team in the NBA, and they were the better team than Brooklyn going into this series. But back to this whole Brooklyn fiasco and Ben Simmons, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
Yep.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Last week when they announced that Ben Simmons would probably play game 4, I knew that was hogwash. The man's been out since June, whatever, of last season. And you're going to tell me he can pinpoint a day that he can come back, which would be Monday the 4th, rather than play on Saturday, game 3? That makes no sense. So, and also when they said that barring a setback, well, I already knew that setback was going to happen on Sunday, so he wouldn't be able to play on Monday. And guess what happened, folks? All of a sudden he wakes up Sunday and he can't play. Well, I mean, come on, man. It was easy. There was no way he was going to play.
Ben Simmons got the biggest scam going that not having anything to do with Donald Trump, who's the greatest con artist ever. This dude has successfully not played the whole year. And like, really? Like the whole
With
year?
no major injury. No major injury.
Well, first of all, like, I don't know how do you should not be able to approve a trade if a player is injured, correct?
Correct.
You can't. You have to pass a physical.
So when did he hurt his back? Because it was mental health problems in Philadelphia and back problems in Brooklyn. And he ain't played a game.
Nope.
And is raked in like what is it, $64 million guaranteed?
No, his whole contract is guaranteed. He has 130.
Yeah.
He has 100 and something million left for 3 years. What was that?
I was talking about for the season.
No, it was 30. He
Okay.
made 30 or high 20s or something like that. He made good money.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's crazy. And I heard he filed a grievance with the league to get $20 million.
Yeah.
Like anybody hasn't played. I'm like, that's crazy to me. I mean, it's genius on one hand that he's come up with two things that you can't really assess. You can't assess his mental health, right? And say that didn't have mental health problems, although that went away at first when he got to Brooklyn. But then he had back problems. And you can't, who knows, people, you put pressure on somebody's back, oh, my back hurts.
Yeah.
Nobody can tell if it's real or not. So, you know, it is what it is. But regardless of Ben Simmons, the not New Jersey, but Brooklyn Nets are terrible. And I told you they weren't going anywhere regardless because they had nobody that could defend anybody.
Yep.
Their defense is terrible. And then Steve Nash, I don't know what he's thinking about. I mean, wait a minute. Let me reel it all the way back. Whoa, almost fell. let me reel it all the way back when they hired Steve Nash. And I told y'all that he's going to come in there running that Mike D'Antoni nonsense. And he hired Mike D'Antoni. And it's been proven that his crap don't work in the playoffs.
They don't.
And I can be, as much as I love Steve Nash as a player, I think after game 2, somebody had asked me, you know, what's going on in this series, besides the fact of Kevin Durant, you know, not shooting well. I also said Steve Nash it's not even just Kevin Durant not shooting well. He's not putting Kevin Durant and Kyrie in position to shoot well. It's a whole bunch of ISO basketball coming down, no passes. Just get to your spot.
Think about this, O.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the Houston Rockets with James Harden when D'Antoni was coaching them. It was the same thing.
But even then, though, I just think that there was more of a scheme that he just lived and died with it.
It was all ISO basketball.
Listen. No, it was a pick and roll, get the mismatch, then play ISO basketball. But you're right. I know you guys don't love it.
Oh, heck no.
Yeah, I know you guys don't love it, but it was his scheme. I didn't even really see a scheme though with Steve Nash. I think it was just more of allowing his players to have so much say in what they do offensively and trusting Kyrie and KD, but understanding that you are the head coach. There has to be some type of scheme. I mean, G, you know this better than both of us. You're a coach. Doesn't matter how good your best player is. You have to put him in a great position to win. I just don't think Steve Nash did that. And I think he's just trusted his best players. And yes, it got him to the second round and 6 inches from beating the Milwaukee Bucks. But that can only go so long, especially when you run into a good team like Boston, who is the best defensive team in the league. It's not gonna work out that way. So, you know, we saw news outlets today say that Steve Nash's job is probably not his job's not in limbo. What I don't like about that, this was a black coach. He probably would have been fired by tomorrow. As like I said, as much as Steve Nash is my favorite player, I think that's true. So I do hope just as me loving Steve Nash as a player, I hope that with having the opportunity of getting these guys back, making the tweaks that they do, and they come in healthy, that he can find a way to get this going. Because if this was any other coach, especially a black coach, they would have been fired.
Yeah,
So yeah, that
no doubt about it. But I mean, you know, that privilege has gone with Steve Nash from the beginning to get that job with no experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He shouldn't even have gotten the job in the first place. But now
and a lot of people are visiting that.
They're revisiting that?
Yeah, a lot of people are revisiting that. Because I was the one we had a debate about that, definitely. And I can say that I can admit that, you know, maybe he wasn't suited for this job. I don't know if it's just the roster makeup or, like I said, him just being a first-time head coach. I don't know, but I didn't. I saw adjustments, but I didn't see adjustments to put his team in a better position to win this game. No, that's why they didn't win.
Well, let me tell you this. Tonight's game, I saw that he was straight confused because he took Blake Griffin out of the game, who was balling and who was the only chance that they had of getting offensive rebounds or getting defensive rebounds for that matter, and put Bruce Brown back in the game on defense. Like what?
Yeah, just trying to play that small ball.
You can't play small on defense.
No, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I
understand he was trying to play small ball, but small ball is the purpose of small ball is to be able to spread the floor on offense and attack driving lanes and kick out for threes. That's small ball, but you don't put him in on defense. You put him in on offense. Like it was a dead ball situation, and he subbed out Blake Griffin on defense. Like what? And then they went inside right away and scored. Like it was a close game. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. No, you're right about that. So yeah, the Brooklyn Nets, they'll have a microscope on them for the rest of the offseason. We'll see what happens with them, Steve Nash, how they fix this roster. The 1-8 matchup, the Miami Heat, Atlanta Hawks, pretty much going as the way I think a lot of people expected. I think one thing the Miami Heat I'm really impressed about, but not so impressed about because Eric Spoelstra is such a great defensive schematic coach, is how they have guarded Trae Young. They are doing a great job of guarding him, and it's shown in his numbers, and it's shown with Miami being up 3-1 and Atlanta being on the brink of being bounced out the playoffs. I see them closing this one out tomorrow. The Milwaukee Bucks.
We need to talk about their defense. You know, we talked about, people have been talking about the Boston Red Sox, Boston Celtics defense. But what about what they've been doing to Trae? Miami.
Yeah, well, Trae acknowledged that. Trae acknowledged that they were locking him up, and he got to figure out a way to get out of the jail.
And also acknowledging Jimmy Butler playing like a superstar caliber player in this series as well.
Well, Jimmy Butler is very capable of doing that. He proved that in the bubble. And last year I felt was like an aberration for him. And this year he just got back to being him. And I think he stepped his offensive game up a little bit too.
Oh, definitely. He kind of got a little scrutiny for I think did Miami win game 1 of the bubble? Could be wrong. I think that I think
Miami.
Yeah, so Miami won game 1, and I think Tyler Hero, somebody else, got off, and they talked to Jimmy Butler about it, and he was saying that how, he just goes with the flow of the game, and if somebody else is hot, then he's going to find them the ball, and he kind of got a little scrutiny as the series got on for saying that because they ended up losing. But I think he needs to be the guy, night in and night out in the playoffs for these guys to win a championship.
Well, he actually said that in an interview the other day. They interviewed him. So that's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then on the other side of the East, 3-6 matchup, Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Bulls. This got out to a really interesting start. Chicago blew the first game, should have won it. And then they won the second game after Chris Middleton sprained his MCL. But ever since that, they lost all momentum, which you'd have thought it went the opposite way after Milwaukee lost the second best player. They've gotten blown out these last two games.
Right.
And now to the Milwaukee Bucks. I didn't get to see the last game. I saw game 3. They just looked atrocious, but just like how we were talking last week, Pep, they can't make shots.
Right.
They're relying a lot, kind of like Brooklyn, on this ISO style basketball. DeMar DeRozan, Zach here, and Milwaukee's just exploiting it. They're getting out. They're getting out in transition. They're making shots. The role players are playing great for Milwaukee right now with the absence of Chris Middleton. It's going to be interesting to see when Chris Middleton can come back. They'll have Boston next round if they win this series.
Yeah, they got to have him back because they're not. It's not going to work. You know, they could beat Chicago without him, but they can't beat Boston without him.
Well, we all knew that Chicago did not have a snowball's chance in hell against Milwaukee.
No,
they beat nobody.
Even without Chris Middleton. Even without Chris Middleton, though, you thought they maybe
without Chris Middleton.
Okay.
Like, I mean, they're proving it, right?
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah, they just don't. I mean, they can't defend Giannis, and Milwaukee still has Jrue Holiday, and now
Grayson Allen.
Yeah. But what's his name is back? Portis is back now too.
Yes.
So no, they don't have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And
DeRozan
has to get 50 every night. Like I'm just kind of like I said this before. You know, I felt like Zach LaVine needed to step up and carry his team, and he has deferred to DeRozan when there should be a bigger 1-2 punch.
Yeah,
and it's funny you saying that because you know the talk around the town since Zach is from here is that Zach is not, or DeMar DeRozan is not giving Zach a fair opportunity or getting him shots. But I kind of agree with you. I think he's deferring. I think he's allowing DeMar DeRozan
Zach goes and stands
to get
around.
Shots. Yeah,
he goes and stands around.
Like he's just as much as an on-ball player as DeMar DeRozan.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that.
And then when DeRozan goes out of the game, he should be taking over.
Yep, I agree with you on that.
And we also got to point out the fact that even though Middleton's out, Grayson Allen has stepped up and has been killing them.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I don't like that guy, I got to admit, I got to give him his props.
Yeah.
I don't like him either, Pep. I don't, but he's hooping. He's definitely hooping.
Yeah, well, I've been in and out of the sports bars. Watching games. So I haven't seen a lot of games. I've been on a little vacation.
Yep.
But I've ducked in a couple sports bars and watched maybe a quarter, a half, or something of a few different games. I think I watched a little Atlanta, a little Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Who else I watched? I don't know.
Philly. Philly.
I haven't watched any of that.
Yeah, speaking of that series, Toronto just got it to 3-2 without
Philly's in trouble
on the court.
Philly is in trouble.
We didn't seen Doc Rivers in this position before, so we'll see if they can close it up. But it's not. It's James Harden.
Where's Game
not
6?
Showing up. Game 6.
Toronto.
Philly. Oh, Toronto. Yes.
Toronto. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
Well, they got 2
over
games.
on the west
They're
side.
in trouble. They're in trouble too.
Yeah,
Go Game 7. Game 7's in Philly. So they'd be in trouble if Game 7 was in Toronto.
Oh,
they
sure.
got to win Game 6 for sure. So they can't. I feel you, Pep. They can't. To your point, they can't mess around and lose Game 6 in Toronto and have to try to close them out at home.
Right.
That's the luxury that they have, but they can't mess around with that. That's playing with fire.
Mm-hmm.
And they were up 3-0, weren't they?
3-0.
They were up 3-0. Yep.
Yeah.
So over on the Western Conference side, a little more interesting matchups here. Starting right at the top, Oh man, my Phoenix Suns are in a battle with the young New Orleans Pelicans. Got off to a good start, going up 1-0. Then Devin Booker
Yeah, and
led
I
off with
heard
40 points in the first half.
I heard people talking about it would be okay not having Devin Booker. Not so fast, my friend.
Oh man,
No, don't look
yeah,
like it.
They need Book.
man. Yeah, it's definitely shown a glaring hole in the Phoenix Suns I think for the first time this whole season. They don't have a lot of shot makers, and with this whole next man up mentality, yeah, it works. But in the playoffs, you need a guy who can go get a bucket
Well,
when the game slows
Phoenix is
down.
missing one key thing. They're missing a wing player. They don't really have a smooth wing player that can get you some buckets.
Well,
That's
Book.
well, I mean, but he's in the backcourt. I'm talking about a forward.
Yeah, well, that's not their game though, right? Like,
Yeah, but I think that would help them if they had somebody like that.
yeah. Well, it's true. Oh, well, who do you think needs to step up for them to win? You frozen? He's frozen this week. Well, I think Cameron Payne needs to step up.
Yeah.
And
I think both Cams need to step up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I was saying, speaking of wings, isn't Cam Johnson a wing?
Yeah, but he's not, he's not 18 to 20 point guy that you're going to count on night after night.
No, but he needs to raise his game up to 8 to 12.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Right? Not 18, but he needs to be 8 to 12. 8 if he's hitting 8 key points, right? The 12 key points, that'll work. But they got to get some scoring from somewhere.
Yeah.
Chris Paul can't have 4 points.
No.
That's for sure. So talking about somebody in trouble, they're the ones in trouble.
Yeah, they are.
Because they got nobody that can guard the thin man. All right, you back, Otis. I asked you before you got frozen. Who do you think needs to step up for Phoenix to win that series? How do they win that series?
I don't think it has to be necessarily one person. When I look at the numbers each game, our nucleus, our role players have to make shots. We are shooting atrocious from the 3-point line this series.
So basically, everybody needs to step up then, huh?
Yeah, everybody does. I don't think there has been one player who has consistently put their mark on this series yet besides DeAndre Ayton. And even then, he got his butt kicked yesterday by Jonas Valanciunas. So I just if that's going to be the Suns' MO is, that they are the deepest team, then it needs to come by committee then. And I don't think as a committee that the Suns have put together a good game so far this series besides game one. So they're going back home. Hopefully they can get some energy from the crowd and the Suns finally can make some shots because they cannot make shots. It's hard to get our defense set up consistently when they're in transition half the time and things like that. But I think I ain't even told nobody this. I think this might be a 7-game series. I'm definitely nervous with the way Brandon Ingram's playing right now. Shout out to him, man. The road he's been on to get to where he's at now.
Yeah, I mean, he's finally come around, and it was amazing to me in watching Brandon Ingram is all those shots he's taking them shots since he was with the Lakers. He just wasn't making them.
Yeah. Right, he's taking tough shots, though. Yeah, he's making them.
Confident.
So I will say that. Yeah. And then the other side, the Memphis Grizzlies, Minnesota Timberwolves. 2-2. That's been my most favorite series to watch. Two young teams playing. They are getting after it, man. You got Ja Morant's dad and Karl Towns' dad on the sideline talking trash to each other. That's been the most exciting series to watch. I think that's going to be a 7-game series as well. And then you got the Golden State Warriors.
I watched the second half Saturday night.
Oh, you did? I've watched every game, though. That was been a good one.
I've been on vacation. Can't be sitting around watching TV.
And then the Warriors and the Denver Nuggets finally squeaked out one game and not get swept. I think that'll be over in 5. And then I think the most disappointing outside maybe the Suns, the Utah Jazz right now getting blown out by 20 to Dallas Mavericks. Luka's been out 2 games. They was only able to win one of those. They're now looking to go down 3-2. when they should have been up 2-0 and maybe on a chance of winning, taking the series out today. There is going to be some overhaul in that roster if they lose in the first round. We heard the rumors about Donovan Mitchell all season, Rudy Gobert, Quinn Snyder could possibly be on the move. So it's going to be interesting to see if they lose this series, what's going to happen with the Utah Jazz.
Yeah,
and then
you've got to give a lot of credit to Jalen Brunson.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, for real.
Dallas should have gave him that 4-year, $55 million extension because he's worth
He
way
gonna
more
get
than
paid.
that now.
Yeah.
And
I mean, he's gonna give. Pep, you're right. He's backing that truck up to the bank. But,
as IT was saying.
I'm really happy to see the success that Jalen Brunson is having. He was one of my favorite players at Villanova.
Yep, me too.
And a guy that I would always tell my point guards to go YouTube and watch him. And so I think that he's a star in the making right now. Just
better than his dad.
This is his coming out party. And so shout out to him.
Shout out to Jason Kidd too.
Yeah, you got a minute to hit those power rankings.
Okay, yeah, power rankings so far in the playoffs, right at the top. You got the Boston Celtics, just swept the Brooklyn Nets. At number 2, I had the Miami Heat. The Golden State Warriors at number 2. They're playing very well. Number 3 was the Miami Heat. Number 4, the Milwaukee Bucks, and then number 5 probably is going to change now, but the Philadelphia 76ers.
Golden State Warriors, Jordan Poole.
Hooping.
How long Steph's still going to come off the bench?
I think just this series. Next series, this won't, yeah.
All
but
right,
they will keep it for the rest of the
Thank
season.
y'all for listening to us talk NBA basketball and NFL action, and along with a bunch of other sports. We appreciate you tuning in with us every week for this sports talk by Lil O Stevenson on the NBA and Pep with his NFL Pep Talk. I'm Granville Emerson. We'll see you next week at the same time. I'll be here next week too. All right. Peace.
This is Caleb Brown with Unleashed Entertainment. You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
This is Tyrone with God Is and the inspiration of gospel music also on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. We give out free food each and every Saturday from 11 to 2. And so we want you to come on out and support us when we love on your community. And we also have a fish fry once a month. We want to raise funds, put back into the community. And so come on, support us. We need your love. And also, if you want to be connected with us, go to Rainier Avenue Radio.world, to the website, Facebook, Instagram, and God Is. And as God Is got a website, we need your help, community. So come on out and get your free food each and every Saturday it is. And so we asking for donation, whatever you feel to give from your heart to the mind. And as we doing it right here for you, go to our website and touch love and give back. And so come on by 810 23rd Avenue, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, your community radio station and inspiration of all the things we do in your community.
And welcome to our live studio audience for another exciting edition of Did You Know? And here we go with round 1. Did You Know?
COVID vaccine is free and easy to get. You don't need insurance or an appointment to get your vaccine. Vaccines are available at many locations near you.
And now we're going to double the value. Did You Know?
The COVID-19 vaccine is always free of cost. You can visit pharmacies, community health centers, and other health providers in your neighborhood.
And now for the lightning round. Did You Know?
The Delta variant of COVID is a mutation that has health experts worried because it's twice as contagious.
Then for our finale. Did You Know?
The best way to protect yourself from the COVID Delta variant is to get fully vaccinated. Get your vaccine today.
Find out more at kingcounty.gov/vaccine. Did You Know?
워싱턴에서 우리 대다수는 동의하죠. 우리의 도로가 안전하다는 것에요. 우리가 휴대폰을 멀리할 때요. 하지만 그것은 쉽지 않아요. 그러니 메시지를 퍼뜨리세요. 본보기가 되세요. 출발하기 전에 휴대폰은 글러브 박스에 넣고 방해 금지 모드로 설정하세요. 그리고 친구들과 가족들에게 똑같이 해달라고 부탁하세요. 왜냐하면 우리 모두가 자기 몫을 할 때 도로는 모두에게 더 안전하니까요. 함께하면 할 수 있어요. 워싱턴 교통안전위원회가 함께합니다.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Check us out on social media. Facebook and Instagram, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and on Twitter at Rainier Ave Radio.